And we're up. Hey, just so you know, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York. Boom, $5. Thank you very much. Now, please feel
Five
free. That
five dollars.
and just so
$5.
we're clear, all under 5 seconds. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
That's a record.
It's amazing, Stephen, and it's also very sad.
Listen, everyone has to have a hobby. My real job is singing the national anthem at cockfights. So it only pays so much. So I have to
Yeah,
whatchamacallit. I have to do this job. So yeah.
yeah. Are you the cock or are you the fighter? What is that?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yes.
So,
So, or is that a whole nother show?
that's a whole nother show for a whole nother topic, which we'll get into.
Yeah,
We'll have the
yeah.
kimchi chick on for
And
that.
how are you today, by the way? Are you
I am
recovering
good.
from the excitement of the election for all those people? This is a day after the election for
Well,
people watching this
I
later.
think this show is going to air the end of November. So the either
Oh, it'll be civil war by then.
The Civil Wars either ended. Actually, it wasn't that bad. The Republicans didn't sweep it. The Democrats didn't sweep it. It's almost like parity. So maybe we'll
Okay,
have a good
okay,
democracy for the next
right.
2 years. We'll
Well,
see.
we have a tsunami of talent on the show today.
We have a tsunami. I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
a tsunami of talent on the show today. Is a
Wow.
gentleman called Jeffrey Rush,
Now,
and I
the actor?
understand.
We have the
Uh,
actor Jeffrey Rush. This is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
that's what my very very poor notes tell me, and and he is an
Yes.
expert in beverages.
Ooh,
Now,
we're gonna have to
you
bring him
know
in then.
that's everybody's favorite.
Right.
But
Scotch and cigars.
I'm sure that once Jeffrey is with us, he can tell us a lot more about beverage than I can. I mean, I'm just a fan of
Okay, well here
beverages.
we go.
But
Let's bring
anyway,
Jeffrey in. There's Jeffrey, and we can show
hi,
Jeff.
hi,
So
Jeffrey.
for the
Hello,
people
buddy.
on the podcast that can't see this, we can do this, or we can do this, but we're going to do
What?
this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, I should say, really, because
There you
I'm
go.
never quite sure what time we're on or where we are. But
Good
so
afternoon. Good morning to you.
you're the beverage guy, Jeffrey. Is that correct?
Well, I make fermented fruit drinks. Yeah. So as you know, like in our culture, most of the food that we eat is kind of sterilized. In fact, it has to be sterilized in order for it to be legal to sell for in many cases. But it's not necessarily the healthiest way to have food, namely, just completely sterilized. So it turns out that having probiotic stuff in our food is good for a lot of things in our health. It's good for your gut, good for digestion, and just because our gut is connected to our brain via the vagus nerve, there's a recent book that came out, I believe, called The Mind Gut Connection, that is really interesting to read and full of good research. Our gut condition can have an effect on our brain, and our brain condition can have a big effect on our gut. So, if you're worried, you may feel like a upset stomach or butterflies in your stomach. And it goes the other way. If your gut is happy, you're going to feel happier, most likely too.
Okay,
So,
So
um,
that's why when
I,
I drink scotch and have a cigar, because cigar is a food group, by the way, I feel happy. Now I understand why. I mean, it could also be that I drink, the Macallan like it's water, but that's not here and there. I'm just saying it's good for the gut. I got it. That's what
yeah,
kimchi too. When we talked to the lady that does kimchi, Rachel said that if your gut is
absolutely.
good, your head is good. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So I was just
Right.
interested, really, Jeffrey. Are you is your crusade in life then the sterile American public, which is continuing
Yes.
to drink undisguised product that's supposed to be a beverage, or is it your mission in life to give us some better stuff than the normal soda?
Okay. So mainly it's all about probiotics, but on the other hand, people do like fizz. So I was listening to a podcast, a foodie podcast, and they were just suggesting, ways that you can find to make your cooking more interesting. And they said, you can make fizzy stuff. People like fizz for whatever reason. And I thought that's my business name right there. For some reason, people do like fizz. So we'll drink, sweet liquid that normally would taste horrible if it's flat, but it's fizzy. So okay, it's good. We'll drink it. Um,
But
but this one,
I myself have if I because I had issues with my gut as well. If I have too much carbonated drink, it really upsets me. It doesn't calm my gut down at all.
right? Okay, so everybody's going to be different, but for a large part of the population, people will go for fizzy drinks. And anyway, so
Yep.
soda, of course, is really bad for us. But this stuff here is the stuff that I make, which is it's in the same category as kombucha. But it's full of probiotics. It's all natural. It has relatively low sugar. It's good for, even there's some research showing that it's good for diabetics. It's just like an alternative to soft drinks, if you like. But at the same time, I'm also interested in more generally fermented stuff for its health benefits.
So,
So
Mo,
kimchi is good.
what got you started in this?
Really just reading about it. So I
Okay.
read online. We used to live in Japan, and I used to teach English in China, Korea, of course. All these cultures have a lot of live fermentation stuff as part of their diets. So kimchi, they have in Korea they have kimchi, and it's not just the cabbage kimchi that we know about, but also
Right.
cucumber kimchi, also a huge variety of kimchis. In China, they have all kinds of pickled vegetables. These involve like pickling for a long period of time. So you like put everything in a big clay pot, bury it in the backyard, and let it sit for 6 months or whatever, and then dig it up. It's absolutely delicious, full of good stuff. Apparently, quinoa was not originally eaten straight the way we eat it by the Incas. I hope I got that right.
Okay.
That was originally fermented too. So I experimented with quinoa using water kefir. You put a little bit of water kefir in quinoa when you're soaking it, let it sit for about 3 days, and you rinse it off and you cook it. It's a completely different product. It's kind of like goopy or sticky, and it has a slight kind of like a sourdough flavor. It's just delicious.
Very cool. So now if anybody wants to buy your product, can you ship throughout the United States, or is it just an Austin-based product?
Well, the drink itself is just an Austin-based product. It doesn't
Okay.
ship very well because it's still live fermenting. So if it's at room temperature, it's going to keep fermenting at full speed and it'll turn
Okay.
sour.
All right.
But I do sell the stuff that you can use to make it yourself at
Wait,
home.
wait, let's do this even better for you. There you go.
Okay.
Hold that up there. There
Okay.
you go.
Okay, so this is what the water kefir grains look like. This is the SCOBY.
Okay.
It's equivalent to the SCOBY in kombucha, but in kombucha it's a disc. Here it's like these little semi-transparent kind of gelatinous clumps.
Okay.
And you can use that to make your own kefir at home. Yeah.
Now, do you send, and this is really stupid on my part because I have no clue. Do you send instructions on how to do it, or the people that would order this from you, like they have a clue and they're like, I know what to do?
No, I send instructions. Yeah, this is
Okay.
like the one-page instruction sheet. It's actually
Okay.
very simple. You can do it indefinitely for about 10 minutes every 2 days once you get used to it.
Oh, wow. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
All right. Now, are you
Keep
going to be
showing
making
it.
something today? Are you making a brew for the bottles or the stores?
What I actually I didn't quite get that all together because
Not a
I
worries.
turned out
You
to
could
do
come
it.
back and do
But
that.
what I can demonstrate is the okay. But I can
This will be your
demonstrate
teaser.
the basic process for cycling the kefir, which is the slightly more complicated and the basic thing. So should I go ahead and do that, or
Yeah,
you
please.
can
And
see a lot of videos online with that. if
Yeah,
you like,
yeah.
but-
yeah, but they can't see it. See, most of our fans, and we have 12 of them globally. We're very excited about it. Most of our fans will go to like our website, which is the number 2 vi oldfarts.vip. That's the plug something, David. Are you happy other than New York? Oh, got it in again.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they'll go to our website
Yeah.
and they'll watch it. Most of them won't. The people that find us on YouTube and our podcasts are kind of, they find us by mistake. So we'd want, and then you can come back and do a whole, if you want demonstration on how you do everything. But if you want to show something today, let them see you online because it just helps you in the
Okay.
brand, which below
Oh, yeah,
and the little
that's
ticker
fantastic.
taker has his website, our website, all
Uh-huh.
that stuff down there. See, David, I promoted
Can
now
I post-
twice. I've done all my work. I'm done. Good night. So
Yeah. Well, I think you had 5
Can
New
I post
Yorks,
a video?
Steve. So I've got
yeah, please.
So-
I think
so-
Jeffrey's gonna do his thing. I think he's gonna show us.
Okay. Everybody, can you come here?
He's got an assistant. I don't have an assistant.
This is kind
It's
of
all
like-
you, Jeffrey.
Actually, if you can stand a little bit so you can see the computer on the top, and then kind of like point it down a little bit, kind of at this thing, so it'll show down here. Okay. You good?
Ooh.
Okay. Thanks so much. Good.
Yeah.
That's my daughter on
For
the
you
money
people,
helping us out here.
hello, daughter. For you people that are watching, or I should say listening on the podcast, he's getting his 3-iron, and he's going to, it's about 160 yards to the green now. No, I'm sorry. All right. So he's got an empty thing, the brown thing, a red thing, and a big green thing. And he'll explain what all that is. So go ahead,
Okay,
Jeff.
so I've got,
Yeah.
there's basically everything that you need to do the kefir. Okay,
Okay.
then also you need filtered water.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the kefir, which has been fermenting for 2 days. So this
All right.
is made with organic coconut sugar, which is why it has the brown color. The organic coconut sugar, it turns out, has all the nutrients kefir needs to grow and multiply.
Okay.
So basically, you can just strain out. You can just strain this out here, and you can take some of the grains. Okay, then you'll normally rinse it out, but I'm not going to do that just because I'm away from the sink. Okay, so you rinse it a little bit, and then you put it in the new jar, like that.
Okay.
And then you put in some coconut sugar in it. Like for 1 quart, you want to use 1 cup of grains and also 1 quarter cup of grains and 1/4 cup of sugar.
Okay. So if I ordered
That's right here.
online the little bowl that you showed us earlier, so this is exactly what I'd be doing to make this at home.
Exactly.
Jeffrey,
As soon as you
why
get
is
it,
it why
you
is
do
it
this at home.
why is it coconut sugar? Can you tell us why it's coconut
It's
sugar, not
because,
brown, not?
first of all, you want to use you want to use unrefined sugar, and all of the unrefined sugars that I've tested, of all those sugars, coconut sugar seems to make it grow fastest.
Hmm.
Basically, coconut sugar is made from the nectar of coconut flowers, and it just has all sorts of good nutrients in it, basically.
Okay, and
Very
you
cool.
can buy that at the normal sort of tasties and
Yeah.
places like that. Is that? Yeah.
You buy
I
tasty, and
think
see, this
they
one's
might
bought
have
at the
it here.
Heeb. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Heeb.
that's right. Yeah.
This is from the Heeb. So hey, they have a store here in Texas called HEB. The Jews, we
Uh-huh.
just call it the Heeb because we're the only ones that
That's
can get
pretty
away
funny.
with it. So
Okay,
yeah.
I remember that. We call it Heb at our place because there's definitely a tendency to abbreviate that HEB. Yeah.
Yes, we call it the Heeb.
But I'll
There you
keep that
go.
in mind for
But I'm a lawnsman, so I can say that. Anybody else says it's not good.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so anyway, so then you fill it up with water, and you want to use filtered water, and then you just leave it sitting on the kitchen shelf for. So now, after you do that, then you've got a couple of options. One
Jeffrey, I'm
is
going to
you
interrupt
can.
you again and ask you by filtered water. Jeffrey, did you get that?
So I just use a countertop filter, but you can also buy filtered water from one of those water dispensers or something like that.
Okay, and there's a
Yeah.
particular reason. Is that because the water where you are in Austin is not particularly drinkable straight out of the tap?
It's not New York water, David. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, do you guys all have bottled water then? Because in Europe, a lot of places we're trying to move away from this tsunami of Nestle sponsored bottled water where you can just turn on a
Yeah.
tap and get it anyway.
Well, what I do is I use those dispensers that I have outside of HEB, for example, and there you just bring your 5-gallon bottle, which you buy once, and you refill it every time for like $1.50.
Okay.
That way we don't waste extra plastic, and it's really cheap also.
I
But
think we have to
just to get back to your
teach.
question, the main reason for using bottled water is not exactly for the taste. It's that everything that you do should be conducive to keeping the grains healthy. So if there's a little bit of chlorine in the water, that can slow down the reproduction of the bacteria and yeast, or it might even kill something off if it's too much. When I wash if you ever wash your jar with soap, you have to just wash it very carefully. Usually, I don't even wash it with soap. I just clean it with water and just clean it carefully, and then rinse it out very carefully, because I don't want to have any chemicals in there that might have a negative effect on the SCOBY.
So basically, if I'm getting this correct, so people buy this thing 2 ways from you. I can buy the grain, and then I kind of do this myself, and I can make my own healthy, for lack of a better word, drink.
Yeah.
Or they find you, whether it's a Tasties or whether it's a farmer's market or whatever it might be, to buy the actual liquid, so to speak.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So here's a bottle. This is the bottle I sell at the farmer's market.
Okay.
This is great kefir. So I sell these bottles for about $10 each.
Okay. And how long will a bottle, like the one you let me try the other day was wonderful, but I like down that like it was like, Mountain Dew. So how are you supposed to drink the whole bottle, or are you supposed to is it you mix it with water, or how do you do this then?
Oh, you can drink the whole bottle, although it's
Okay.
good to start a little bit slow unless you're used to probiotics already.
Okay.
Just because otherwise you might get a little bit of gas as the probiotics continue to multiply in your system and produce carbon dioxide. So, yeah.
No, I'm good.
But
We
Yeah.
got lots of
Green.
gas. So
Yeah, good old greenhouse gas. That's where we're at.
I'm trying to save the planet, Dave. Trying to save the planet. So very cool. So now how long will that jar then have to sit? And you might have said this earlier, but how long will the jar sit until I can then drink from it?
okay, so let me just pick up where I was.
Sure.
I'm going to put your spikes good.
Sure.
Okay, so after you mix after you basically cycle. Okay, so this is an ongoing cycle. It just keeps on going, and meanwhile the grains will multiply, like they double in volume every 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
So after you add the fresh water
Right.
and the fresh sugar with a small quantity of grains, like a quarter cup sugar, a quarter cup grains, and fill it with water, basically.
Mhm.
Okay, now you've got kind of like two options that you can do. One is you can wait for about 2 days and then drink the straight kefir, which tastes a little bit like sour beer. It's an acquired taste for sure, but it's also really good for example, you can put it on oatmeal, let it sit overnight. The oatmeal gets kind of fermented. It's exquisitely delicious. It's like, I don't know, but it's just the best thing I've ever had for breakfast. You put some raisins on top. When you eat it, you get a little bit of whiff that smells like rum or something.
Okay.
It has a tiny bit of alcohol. Anyway, it's just a really good way to eat. You can use it for all sorts of. You can ferment rice. You can ferment quinoa, like I mentioned. You can even ferment tofu if you want to make like what they call in China chou tofu, which I believe means either rotten or stinky tofu.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay, so that's one route. So if you leave it for 2 days, it becomes sour. If you leave it for 1 day, it becomes a little bit sour, but not very sour. Still has some sugar content. And then you can strain out the SCOBY and mix the strained liquid with some different kinds of fruit juice. So grape works, unfiltered apple, grapefruit, pineapple, and probably several other things that you can find online. Then you simply mix it half and half, put it in the bottle. The bottle has to have a lid that can seal partially, but it shouldn't seal too tight because you have to let some gas escape at the same time you let it pressurize a bit. That's how it turns fizzy. And then you leave that go for 1 more day. So it's a 2-day process to go from the raw ingredients to the fizzy drink, and a 2-day process to go from the raw ingredients to the sour health nut thing.
Cool. So if I buy the grains from you, you send me, I'm assuming, this one pager that tells me how to do it A and B.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yes, that's correct.
And then they can just go buy natural juice wherever they want to go buy natural juice.
That's right. Yep. Oh, and by the way, I should mention I send it in 2 forms. One is fresh, the other is dried. So if I send it dried, then there's an additional rehydration step that takes about 4 days.
Okay. Very cool. That is very cool. I like that. So it's kind of like do it yourself. I don't want to say kombucha, but it's kind of like do it yourself. It's like, if they don't find you at the farmer's market because they're not in Austin, they can actually just buy it from you and then they kind of do it themselves. So what do you sell like a package of the grains for? I was looking at your site. So it says like
grains. I think I put $5 there.
Okay, let's check. Make sure you check your site. So
I'll check. That's my normal price. I mean, $5 is good for me. Yeah.
Is that
$5?
It's $5 now. So
right. Yeah.
You just
I try to keep the price low because I think there's a lot of kind of specialization. But my theory about selling stuff is always sell it for a price that I like to pay. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, that's just how I am. I mean, people have actually come to my farmer's market booth and said, "You're underpricing this. People will buy more if you charge a bit more." Right. I'm like, yeah, but you just can't sell it for a price that would make me feel like
uncomfortable.
exactly. Or,
Okay.
but even I wouldn't sell it for a price that would make me have a second thought if I was the customer. I want to sell it at a
Right.
price that I want to sell it basically as cheap as I can while at the same time making the business viable, which
Right.
is
Right. Right.
lower than a lot of prices.
Yeah. People unfortunately equate quality with price, and sometimes it's not that way. So sometimes
Right.
something may be inexpensive and just be just as good as the thing that's cost 100 times more. And
That's right.
I had his stuff the other day, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I drank the whole bottle, and I wasn't gassy or anything, and it was great. But I've had kombucha before where I've like drank that every day and lived on it. And I will tell you one thing: if you ever have to go for a colonoscopy, you drink a week of kombucha, and you're good to go. So
Okay. All right.
there you go.
Good
For
to know.
that's called. That was my medical PSA today. Pfft, man, I am on
Uh-huh.
fire. Anyway, but no, this is very
Okay.
cool. So now,
But
is there a bigger process of things that you do and that you make, or is that like literally? And I mean this in a good way. It's as simple as it is. It's like you're going to go to the farmer's market and you make like 100 bottles of X. Is it literally that simple?
Yeah, that's the basic plan. Although I have now
Okay.
branched out just a little bit um, into sauerkraut and kimchi,
Okay.
and we're
Ooh.
going to get to Mexican style escabeche, pickles, which have the carrot,
Jeffrey,
cauliflower,
could I just
jalapeno.
intervene and ask you
Yes.
what sort of public do you have buying your product? Are they young, old, guys, girls,
Well,
It's
now
really
there's a
a
whole bunch
big
of other
cross
people.
section,
and
to be
everything
honest.
in between, of course?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a big cross section. So there's a lot of people who remember, because this is actually very traditional. I mean, this is nothing new. This has been around. The milk kefir has been around for thousands of years. I
Right.
think water kefir is a little bit a newer innovation, but still hundreds of years. So there's people who remember their parents used to make stuff like this, and so oh yeah, I remember that. When they there's the kind of like back to basics movement, and people were doing a lot of stuff at home. So people like that. So those would be slightly older people. Um, Now, I do sometimes think that it might be that this product is just a little bit too weird for Austin, believe it or not, because it looks like a science experiment. And somebody said, now that Austin has become so big in corporate, it's now keep Austin weird just means wear weird clothes, and that's it. But I'm hoping there's something more to it than that. So that's what I'm
I
betting.
would think all the people from California would love this because they're all into like, all that. Like in New York City, when you go to a baseball game, it's like peanuts, hot dogs, beer. When you go to a baseball game in California, it's like avocado, sushi,
Oh, okay.
so I would think all the people from California that are moving to Austin would probably flock to this. They just probably don't know about it. So now they will.
Uh-huh.
So now on your
Okay, well,
website,
thanks for that.
do you post the farmers markets you're going to be at or where you sell your products so they know?
I haven't yet, but thanks so much. You guys are way better businessmen than I am. I can tell already.
Yeah,
If I sat down with you for half an hour, 45 minutes, I'd probably, be saved.
don't worry, we'll
But
send you
yeah,
the,
I'm
we'll
gonna do
send you,
that.
the, we'll send you the bill. So, but no, I mean, really, I mean, like, you should post where you're going to be because now if I live in Austin and I'm watching this and I'm like, hey, I really want to try this guy's drink, his fizz.
Yes.
How do I find him? I can't
Uh-huh.
find you, right? But if you say, hey, I'm going to be
Yes.
this farmer's market, that farmer's market, or I'm in like Tasty's
Right.
market, or I'm in this store or that store, then
Yeah.
people can just go and find you. It's like that'll probably help sales a little bit. And now that you've been on our show with our global reach, you'll probably get orders from at least 3 people around the world. So you got that going. That's another question. Can you ship this outside the United States?
I have shipped it outside the United States,
Okay.
and the dried product, it has to be the dried one because the
Right.
fresh one can only last for about 4 or 5 days in transit.
Okay.
But yeah, and there might be some restrictions.
Okay.
Although I'll just say, last time I went traveling with some of the stuff in my carry-on bag, um, I had a little bit of hesitation when I went through the customs, and they said you're not allowed to bring any plant or animal products. But then I
Right.
remembered, hey, wait a minute, it's not plants and it's not animals. What's the word? Anyway, microbes. But anyway, not
Mike,
plants or
okay.
animals. It's a different kingdom. So we're good to go.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So people can order this anywhere on the planet. They can go to your website, which I know David had below, and we'll put it in the notes. And they can order this. And then that would be kind of cool. So they can go ahead and enjoy your product on a global basis. But right now, for the people that are listening or watching in Austin, that is awesome for them. They can come in and do that. So when you start making your kimchi and sauerkraut and whatnot, if you want, we'd love to watch that process. As
Oh,
silly
okay.
as it
Oh,
sounds,
yeah.
I think that's cool stuff. So I would like to watch it because I think people don't know how sauerkraut would be made, or kimchi's made, or this is made. So it's one of those things that if you want to show us, by all means, I think people would be fascinated by it, and the ideas, like how to eat it, what to do with it. People I think
Good.
think of kimchi is like you open it has a terrible smell, and that's it.
Right.
But I don't think they realize you can do so much more with it. So you could always, come show us that as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the
sauerkraut.
things
That
that
was something.
surprised me when I got. Oh yeah, so sauerkraut. If you buy sauerkraut in the can and it tastes
Right.
a little bit, like a taste, that's not what fresh sauerkraut tastes like at all.
No, no.
It is
I
very sour,
remember.
but it's crunchy. It's delicious. You eat a little bit, it just gives you a feeling of well-being. I mean, it's fantastic stuff.
I remember when I first came to Holland. They said, "Oh, we're going to buy some sauerkraut," and off we went to this farmer's place, and had huge vats of the stuff, literally, and just sort of in with a big label,
Yeah.
whoop, they're out,
Uh-huh.
and wonderful sauerkraut, mashed potato, banana, raisins, get it all in there, put it in the oven, fantastic.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just too
So
good.
yeah, I love sauerkraut. I'll probably be the only one who does, but
Yeah.
there
No,
you go.
everybody
one of
likes
the things
sauerkraut.
Is that something
one of
which
the
is
things that
sort of
surprised me when I got in. Sorry.
is that something which is sort of still sold in volume? You think in the US sauerkraut, because it's a very it has a very sort of almost
Yeah.
an identity of being or sort of poverty food.
Yeah, yeah, and people have some people have bad memories of it from their childhood because they were forced to eat it all the time, or who knows. But
We used to do sauerkraut and
Yeah,
hot dogs all the
yeah.
time. It was
Oh
great.
yeah,
What are
I
you
mean,
kidding?
oh
Love
yeah,
sauerkraut and hot dogs.
too good, too good. That really is delicious. Anyway, I still had it in a smaller container, so here's a jar that I happen to have here.
Oh, wait, let's get a close up of that. Do that again so everybody can see
Okay.
it. Shameless
So
promotion
this
here.
also
There you
can
go.
get. You can also get this at the farmer's market. Yeah.
Nice.
this,
So that
that's
goes
the
for
sauerkraut.
$3. Yeah, sauerkraut.
That's
So
the sauerkraut.
I use purple
Other,
cabbage.
I was gonna say, yeah, purple cabbage, not the white cabbage.
Right. Yeah. So the fun thing about the purple cabbage is that, as you may remember from chemistry class in high school or even middle school, the coloring of the cabbage can be used like a pH meter. So it'll change depending on the acidity of
Right.
whatever you put it in. And so it starts off purple, and as it gets ready to eat, it turns red. Kind of like
That's
Schlinzy when
very
it's ready
cool.
to go. Yeah.
Very cool. I
Are
remember that
you
when I was a kid.
adding fruit to that as well or not? Because I've had that here with raisins and sultanas. In the sauerkraut. I mean, literally, you
I
could go to
haven't tried it yet.
some alternative, places where you can
Interesting.
buy your vegetables and stuff, and they'll just say,
Uh-huh.
"Hey, you want a little bit of fruit in that or whatever," and they have different
I see.
vats of it here.
Oh, nice.
But I mean,
Okay.
well, my first encounter was in a village which was probably about 10 or 12K from the German border. So, and the village itself had been sort of swapped through the centuries. So they were as much Dutch as they were German, and vice versa. So that was like a stable diet. And I remember having that, thinking, well, I'd never eaten that, and I was 25, I think, when the first time I ate that. So I'd never eaten that, and just the whole idea of it, and it smelled awful when we went to buy it.
Uh-huh.
And they said, well, don't worry about what it smells like when you buy it. Wait until it comes out of the oven as a casserole, and then
Okay.
get stuck into that. You think, oh wow, that
Yeah.
just I've forgotten food really.
Mhm.
So yeah, all
I'll
those
definitely
people.
try it. That's a great idea.
Yeah, well, sultanas and raisins, banana was my absolute favorite.
Okay.
Um,
And
yeah,
so you just
yeah.
make all that into a casserole and then put it in the
Yeah,
oven?
casserole. So you have the mashed potato, and
Okay.
you put sauerkraut on top of that, and then another layer of mashed potato on, and then just slices of banana in between,
Wow.
or raisins or sultanas, and it just takes that. Adds the sweetness to the sourness, so you get the sweet and the sour to go together.
Yeah.
And
That's
I'm
good.
I've got a patent on that, I think. So
Wait, you're like
that's
Julia
for
Childs.
to
Who
our part.
knew?
Yeah,
The Two Old Farts
whoever
Julia
she is.
Childs show. I like that. You don't know who Julia Childs is?
Who's
Wow.
Julia?
Julia Childs. She was some
Do I
chick.
have to
She's
know?
some. Well, she's some chick that did some cooking back in the 60s and 70s that basically gave Ramsey and
Oh,
all these guys
that was
their entree into television, which I know you already know this. So yeah, that was that.
no.
When I was a kid, we watched
Honestly,
like
I don't seem I've never heard of her before. Honestly, I haven't.
Okay, Julia
But
Childs was a very famous chef in the United States. And then from Julia
there
Childs, you
you
got the
go.
Gallup Gourmet. And if it wasn't for Julia Childs starting basically teaching women how to cook on television back in the late 60s, you would not have all these cooking shows today or the Food Channel or anything else because Julia Childs is the one who opened up the door for that.
But in the 1960s, 1970s, I seem to remember the only thing I needed to do was to open the door, put it in, and wait for it to go ping.
Yes, but she taught you
So
how to do more than that, how to make it more than a
ah
ping. Ah, yes. So
because the great American export, the TV dinner.
oh, yes,
Oh,
yes.
we're so grateful.
All we can tell you is thank you. That's what our democracy after 240 years, that's what we can do for the world. American television dinner, the Hungry Man dinner. That's what I remember the commercials as a kid. So
Yeah.
this was really
Oh,
cool, Jeffrey. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that we need to cover? Because I don't know, like, it's a food thing. So food's not if we eat it, we just don't know about it. So is there anything else or is that all the food we got?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is
Sure.
just a little plug for doing it yourself as opposed to buying it at the store. So if you buy some of these probiotic drinks at the store, and you guys can cut this out later if you decide it's too negative, okay? Okay.
Right.
So anyway, if you buy probiotic drinks at the store, you'll see this phenomenon that doesn't make any sense to, I think, anybody who does homebrew, which is a sealed bottle that tastes
Right.
sweet when you drink it, and it has probiotic stuff in it, and it has a shelf life of 6 or 7 months.
Right.
Okay? That doesn't all add up. If it's got live cultures in it, it should not be sweet after more than about a week.
Okay.
Okay? So either they're using some kind of artificial sweetener that the probiotics are not going to consume, or the probiotics are almost dead, or in fact, that's the only explanation, because even if you put a little bit of probiotics in there, probiotics grow with a doubling time of about like 4 days. So if
Right.
you have a very small amount, it's going to double in 4 days, double again in a week, double again in a week and a half, double again in 2 weeks. So it's going to explode in there basically, and it's not going to be sweet after a few months.
Gotcha.
So
Very
for that reason,
interesting.
I just say do it yourself at home. That way, you're definitely getting the probiotic benefits, whatever they are, and there's a host of them. So again, plug that book, The Mind Gut Connection. It's just got all sorts of health benefits. They even did some kind of survey and found out that cultures that eat a lot of fermented foods, pickles, kimchi, and so on and so on, have slightly lower COVID symptoms when they get COVID.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Well, there was an article, this is going to be terrible for people that are listening, that said, not if you smoke cigarettes, but apparently if you're smoking, and there was an article back in the early 2000s about cigars, and I'm a cigar guy, and it said cigars were good for like Parkinson and other things, I guess because you don't inhale it, so it's not bad for your lungs. It's made with pure tobacco, not crap that a cigarette's made out of. So they said
Sure.
like cigars
Yeah.
were good for that. And then when the COVID's happened, it said people that are smoking cigars are probably less likely to get it. And I was like, this is going to be great. And this was like from Harvard Medical or Yale. Like they're not like Steve wrote the article. It's like from, real people. And it said only because whatever you do when you're taking in the cigar and exhaling it, he says it does something to your lungs that like gives a protective coat layer or a protective layer. So I guess it's like these probiotics. It's the same thing. It's like a coating.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Steve, because we've been Annette unfortunately had COVID twice.
Right.
She got the Delta. Unbeknown to her, she got that a week after she had her first inoculation, so it was double bubble for her. And then we were sort of really digging into the whole COVID thing, and then seeing the most crazy things. You've seen people who are super fit. They're marathon runners and terrible lung problems. Absolutely terrible lung problems.
Mm-hmm.
And you had other people who were smoking and puffing away like a chimney who
And they're
didn't.
fine. Yeah.
And yeah, and it would appear obviously that the way that the COVID attacks, that the way that these connectors attach to to your inside of your lungs. That just a coating of something or whatever it is. But also people who work in flour mills, people who work in dusty environments, was slightly lower. I mean, it's all anecdotal,
Right.
and I'm sure over the 5 or 10 years time we'll get a little bit more information about it. But it would appear that the healthier and cleaner your lungs are, the more receptive you seem to have been, certainly for the Delta virus.
Uh-huh.
So interesting.
It's in because nobody knows. I mean, they all say they know, but they don't know,
Nobody
right?
knows.
Like, and
This is
it's
just
one of
my
those things.
personal opinion.
Yeah. No, and I agree because like I said, when I read that first article in the early 2000s about cigars, which I've been smoking since I graduated university, and it was talking about it's good for Parkinson's and all these things. I was like, well, that's cool. And it does calms you down. It's a whole thing. And then when COVID's happened, and it was literally like the same researchers out of Oxford and all these other people saying, this is what it coats your lungs in a positive way. I was like, all right. So, I mean, I'm not advocating you go smoke cigars, right? That's my thing. But it's one of those things where I think we still just don't know what we don't know. Like we're good at guessing what causes everything. But like I have friends who are extremely healthy, do nothing wrong, and they'll get cancer. And they're like, how did I get it? I did nothing wrong. But it's all, we always joke, it's all in the genes. But I think there's a lot to it. And the flip to that then becomes, I have friends who smoke and drink like there's no tomorrow, and they go to the doctor, the cholesterol's fine, their heart's fine, and they could be overweight by 20 pounds or 50 pounds, and they get a clean bill of health. And the guy who's always healthy is the one, there's something wrong with his cholesterol, there's something wrong with, and I'm like, I think you just have to live life and enjoy it. Because you're not going to live forever. You're going to die. And when it's your time, just enjoy. So if you want to eat and drink, go do it. And if you want to do this as well, do it. Just do it. It's like I think people would be less stressed. I don't know. What do I know? So
there's nothing shameful about dying, like they say in one of my favorite books, which is
there you go. Einstein said it best. I was dead 14 billion years before I got here, and I'll be dead another 14 billion years after I leave. So, it's I think that's the way to look at it. But no, this I like. This, like I said, I had his apple. It was delicious. I woofed that down like there was no tomorrow. It was absolutely delicious. So I would recommend if you're at a farmer's market in Austin and you see Jeffrey, you grab whatever you can. And if you're listening, whether you're outside of Austin or wherever, and you feel like a DIY project, you could DIY all this too. So, and it looks like it's pretty easy to do. And so I would think that you could probably, if you're into this, be great. And he has grains and it comes with instructions, and I like instructions. So there you go. Works well for me. So very, very cool. And I think that's it, Jeffrey. Thank you for being with us today. And we're gonna end this, but we'll talk to you for a few minutes after. And everybody that's listening, thank you very much. Hope you all. This is airing after Thanksgiving, so hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving.
Another fascinating, show about stomach bugs and what's good for you and what's bad for you. And all I can say to people is enjoy life, experiment with stuff. If it doesn't make you feel good, stop doing it.
There you go. That's true. All right, everybody. We'll see you again. Cheers.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thank you all so much. This was fun.